Before I get started, I do want to provide a quick content warning. Diabolik Lovers is smut, and although there is no explicit nudity, there is definitely suggestive content, which includes themes of dubious consent and domestic violence that might be triggering for some viewers. I grew up watching battle shonen anime like Naruto, but at the tender age of 14, I discovered a new genre of anime. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about.
Kiss, kiss, fall in love.
This genre of anime is called reverse harem. It's like a regular harem, but instead of a guy being surrounded by bodacious, bootylicious babes, it's about a girl surrounded by teenage boys who constantly sexually harass her.
Get away from me!
Oh my. Even though you run, it makes me want you more.
Back off, you sick pervs!
This shit was like crack cocaine to me when I was in middle school. I was so starved for hot, morally ambiguous anime boys that I was playing fan-made dating sims on Newgrounds and DeviantArt.
Do not cite the deep magic to me, witch. I was there when it was written.
Of all the reverse harem anime that I ever watched, one stood out among the rest. Not because it was my favorite or because it was the best, but because it was the sleaziest, trashiest, most toxic one of all. And that show was Diabolik Lovers.
Tell me, are you ready?
Please! God, no!
On October 11th of 2012, the Japanese company Rejet released Diabolik Lovers Haunted Dark Bridal, a vampire romance dating sim game. To this day, the game has never received an official English publication, but just 1 year after the game came out, an anime adaptation was released. And let's just say it had mixed reviews. Diabolik Lovers shares a sort of kinship with similar stories like Twilight. It was trash-talked and hated by most, but beloved by a small group of mostly female fans. In the past couple of years, there's been this resurgence of people going back and admitting maybe we judge these kinds of series too harshly. A lot of the criticism surrounding Twilight and other young adult romance novels wasn't because books were bad and had no redeeming qualities, but instead because of this idea that everything that teenage girls like is cringy and embarrassing. So if Twilight got a redemption arc, why not go back and give Diabolik Lovers a fair shake? Does it really suck that hard? Sorry, I couldn't resist. But really, does Diabolik Lovers deserve its bad reputation? Or is it just misunderstood? There's only one way to find out, and that's for me to force myself to rewatch it and then perform a comprehensive analysis that nobody asked for.
5 hours later.
You guys, it was so bad. How can I put this into words? I regret everything. This was all one big mistake. Unsubscribe from my channel. Like all shoujo romances, this story begins with our heroine, Yui. As naive and defenseless as an infant gazelle wandering the Sahara, she makes her grand entrance to the tale by pulling up to a gothic Victorian-style mansion in a taxicab. Once she's inside the mansion, she gets a brief and traumatizing introduction to the rest of the cast.
Excuse me.
12 seconds later.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? Oh, I think you already know.
We find out that Yui's father, a priest, has knowingly sent her here to live with a family of vampire brothers. There are 6 Sakamaki brothers in total.
That is the eldest son, Shu. My name is Reiji, and I'm the second son. Next are the triplets, Ayato, Kanato, and Laito. The last son is Subaru.
The 6 of you? You're all kind of weird.
Understatement of the century, sweetheart. Yui is told that she was sent here to act as a bottomless juice box for her brand new cold-blooded roommates. Understandably, she's not, super cool with this turn of events, so she tries to escape. In the process, she stumbles into this room, which conveniently contains a photograph of herself as a baby in her father's old diary. She reads the first page of the diary and, to make a bad day worse, immediately finds out that she's adopted.
Yui brings me great joy. The fact that she is not my natural child is no longer important to me. Is it true that I'm not my father's daughter?
The next day, the words written in the diary have mysteriously vanished. Once our premise has been established, the mystery of Yui's past kind of takes a back seat so that all the vampire brothers can take turns cornering her in isolated locations and chowing down on her in rapid succession.
Just eat a goddamn vegetable once in a while.
In a way, this harassment is the show's twisted manner of providing character development for all the brothers.
Why do you keep doing this to me?
Why do you think I do these things? Because it's lots of fun for me, that's why.
In between involuntary blood donation sessions, Yui learns that she's been sent to the mansion not just for her blood, but also to act as some kind of sacrificial bride.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You were offered up to us as a sacrifice by the very church you've chosen to put so much faith in.
And she's not the first girl to share this fate.
What are these?
They're all sacrificial brides.
Sumeru gives Yui a chance to escape,
Go right now. This may be your only chance.
but she refuses because
No, I can't leave this place until I know the truth.
Sumeru also gives Yui a special knife which is capable of killing vampires. Instead of using this knife to stab any of the 6 vampires who have been imprisoning her here against her will, Yui tucks the knife away so that it can return when the plot next demands it. Meanwhile, a mysterious stranger begins to linger around the mansion to brood and say vague, ominous things like this.
I'll finally see you again.
Yui starts catching glimpses of a mysterious woman who's haunting the mansion. In a dreamlike flashback to the past, she learns that the woman is Cordelia, mother to 3 of the vampire brothers. And let's just say she won't be winning Mama of the Year anytime soon.
You're utterly worthless to me unless you're number 1, so you'd better work harder. What happens to worthless boys? They spend eternity, cold and drenched at the bottom of the lake, all alone, where no one can hear them scream.
When Yui asks the brothers what happened to Cordelia, they explain that they had some issues, but they all bonded together and had a group therapy session where they really worked out their family differences. Our mysterious green-haired stranger introduces himself as Richter, the boy's uncle. Richter explains that Yui is gradually being possessed by Cordelia, who will one day take over Yui's body completely. In another flashback, Richter discovers Cordelia in the moments right before her death.
I have a request. Please, while my heart is still beating, cut it out of my chest. And then I will need you to implant it into another body.
He rips out her heart as requested and implants it inside the body of an abandoned human baby who will eventually become a sacrificial bride capable of being possessed by Cordelia. And that baby, you guessed it, was Yui. How did they fit an adult woman's heart inside of a baby, you ask? Why would they bother inviting a bunch of other girls to come to the mansion and live as sacrificial brides if they knew that none of them had Cordelia's heart and therefore could never successfully be possessed by her? Sadly, none of these questions are ever answered. Richter explains that the reason for all of the Sakamaki brothers' sadistic behavior is that Yui's special blood is driving them to act crazy and possessive.
It's your blood that's driving them mad, you know. It can make them lose control.
That's right, none of them bear any accountability whatsoever for their creepy actions towards Yui. Instead, it was actually her fault this whole time for having spicy blood.
See, now that's some bullshit.
He also destroys her father's diary by turning it to ash. This is the first and only time that this type of magic power has been used in the entire show, and it is never explained or used again. Finally, Cordelia successfully manages to possess Yui's body. She immediately begins going off on an evil monologue.
Now that I have returned, it is crucial that I remain vibrant. You're keeping me from becoming the vibrant woman that I deserve to be. Richter, dispose of them immediately. Do it right now.
Yes, queen.
That's right. In a story about 6 men kidnapping, imprisoning, and abusing a young girl, the real villain has been another woman all along. It turns out that Richter is Cordelia's lover. How romantic. But wait a minute. No, I thought that Richter was the boy's
Uncle,
which would mean that Cordelia was cheating on her husband.
you are my brother's wife, and we must face up to that inescapable fact.
So, wait, has this been NTR the whole time?
Ding, ding, ding. Correct
dancer!
Out of the blue, there's suddenly another plot twist. Richter didn't bring Cordelia back from the dead because he loves her. He brought her back so that he can murder all of his nephews and become the new head of the family.
You are a fool. I will become the next head of the family, and I can do it all without your assistance.
So you've been planning this from the very moment that I entrusted you with my heart?
You're not the one who's been using me all this time. I am the one who has been using you.
It's not like super clear what family will be left to be head of if he kills everyone. It's also not very clear why he needed Cordelia here for any of this to work. But before we have time to think too hard about these plot holes, Richter starts trying to kill everyone. During the chaos, Yui regains control over her body. She takes the mysterious MacGuffin vampire knife and, oh my god, yes, she's finally gonna do something useful for the plot and stab Richter. Hooray! Oh, never mind.
I can't believe she'd go and stab herself.
The brothers finish off Richter and find this secret room that's hiding the dress that Cordelia died in. They whip up a magic potion with her blood, which is somehow still nice and juicy even though she died 17 years ago. Then they give that potion to Yui, and Yui opens her eyes to reveal that she too is now a vampire.
I'm so thirsty. I wonder why.
And roll credits. Wait, what? That's the ending? You may be wondering why Yui doesn't end up in a romantic or even a friendly relationship with any of the brothers. It's like vaguely implied that she and Ayato are the closest, but Yui doesn't really express any feelings of love towards him. There are countless unresolved plot threads and unanswered questions, like what's the real truth behind Yui's past and her father, and why do all the Sakamaki brothers hate their dad? And also, why did they think it was a good idea to install a giant chandelier directly above a massive indoor swimming pool? Is that not like a huge safety risk?
Don't worry about it. There's no real need for you to know that.
You may think that these questions will be answered in Season 2, Diabolik Lovers More Blood. I doubt it, because for whatever reason, in Season 2 the showrunners cut the episode length down to 10 minutes each and tried to cram 4 brand new vampire brothers into the mix. For the sake of my own personal sanity, I will not be covering Season 2 in this video. All of you are welcome. We are going to put a pin in the ending for now. I promise we're going to come back to this unsatisfying conclusion, but before that, although I have been pretty harsh with my critique of Diabolik Lovers so far, I do have to admit there are bits and pieces that I genuinely thought were done well. For example, although this was a pretty low-budget production, the art is passable and the character designs were done pretty well. Every cast member is easily distinguishable, and their clothing kind of tells you about their personality. For example, Ayato's pant legs are 2 different lengths to show that he's a moron. I also thought this title card that shows up after the opening is pretty cool. It has this clock that shows a time which matches the episode number. So like episode 1 is 1 o'clock and episode 12, which is the finale, takes place at midnight. I thought this was a really nice gothic touch, and the idea of counting down to midnight added a little bit of tension and excitement to the story. The ending song was also pretty good. It has this like dark, urgent, exciting quality about it that makes you think that something really exciting is about to happen. It almost feels like it belongs in like a vampire-y video game like Castlevania. So that was the good stuff. Let's go back to the bad stuff. In particular, the bad boys. If you play dating sims, then you know that the plot is not the most important part of the story. The characters are. All the fun in playing dating sim games comes from developing a relationship with each of the different romanceable love interests, which means that the story often takes a back seat to the characters. In general, romanceable characters in otome games or reverse harems tend to fall into stereotypical categories. Ouran High School Host Club is a great example of this.
For example, there's Tamaki, who is the princely type. There's the strong silent type, the boy Lolita type, the little devil type, and the cool type. It's all about variety.
These are not, of course, all the possible character archetypes. For instance, You might also see the sporty type, the delinquent with a soft side type, the childhood friend type. Some edgier otome games might even have a sadistic type, a creepy yandere guy who acts possessive of the heroine. In Diabolik Lovers, every guy is the sadistic type. The series advertises itself as such. The opening song literally goes like this. So, in order to differentiate the Sakamaki brothers' personalities, the Diabolik Lovers series goes even further to specify how each potential love interest is sadistic in his own special way. In 2014, Rejet ran a popularity poll asking fans of the series to rank which of the Sakamaki brothers they liked the most. I'm going to go down the list, starting with the most popular brother and ending with the least popular. Coming in at number 1, the most popular Sakamaki brother is the eldest, Shu Sakamaki, who perpetually just gave off this vibe that he was too old for this shit.
I can't be bothered with this. Could you keep it down? Why must you always be so loud?
The other brothers often accuse Shu of being lazy and unmotivated.
I've had it with that deadbeat. As a child, he had everything handed to him on a silver platter.
He's soft-spoken, he seems pretty uninterested in doing anything other than listening to music, and he talks a lot less than some of the other brothers, so a lot of fans of the series describe him as stoic. Personally, I thought that he always seemed like more sleepy than stoic. Like, he spends 90% of his screen time being horizontal, and also Shu's English voice actor reads his lines with all the enthusiasm of a man who has just been injected with 100 cc's of elephant tranquilizer.
You'd best not even dream of messing with me, if you hope to stay alive.
While most of the other brothers actively harass Yui and initiate interactions with her, almost like they're stalking her, in the anime, Yui almost always runs into Shu herself by accident, and she's the one to start a conversation with him. But just because he doesn't seek her out doesn't mean that Shu's a nice guy. The show kind of pulls this bait and switch thing with him, where Shu initially seems like he might not be that much of a jerk, but then he turns around and says some absolutely buck wild shit to Yui.
I thought that you would be different from the others. Why are you doing this?
I am a full-blooded vampire. Don't mistake me for some gutless mortal.
The small glimpse of Shu's backstory that we get in the anime revolves around his mother pressuring him with high expectations.
Shu? Oh? You mustn't forget that you are the eldest son. You'll be the head of this family one day. Therefore, you must learn how to conduct yourself properly at all times.
No!
Which is why he acts so withdrawn and unmotivated now and spends all his time alone listening to tunes on the MP3 player he wears attached to his choker. Now, the games officially say he likes classical music, but I kind of like to imagine that she was listening to a Wiggles album on repeat.
Fruit salad, yummy, yummy.
The second most popular of the bunch is Subaru, the youngest of the brothers. Subaru comes off as a real hothead. He's angry, loud, and gets violent really quickly. So basically, he's like your average Call of Duty player.
Who is this mortal who dares awaken me from my precious sleep?
How'd you enter this room so quietly?
You will answer my question first!
Unlock double XP with Mountain Dew and Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Despite his anger management issues, Subaru has something of a protective side to him, which is why I think he ranks so highly on this popularity list. He gives Yui a chance to escape, and he also gives her a weapon that she can defend herself with. He's also got this like tortured, emo, self-hatred thing going for him that reminds me a lot of Zero from Vampire Knight.
What would you even expect from someone who was as powerless, as hideous, and as corrupted as I am?
What?
We get like a tiny glimpse of his mother locked up in a tower, and we learn that she died a while ago, but we don't know too much about her situation. In the actual game, we learn that Subaru's mother was a victim. She was forced to marry his father and have a child with him against her will.
It's such a shame you were unable to protect your own mother.
As a result, Subaru's mom is mentally unstable and regularly told Subaru that he was an unwanted child and she doesn't love him, which led to his feelings of self-hatred.
I suppose you still want to know why I gave you that silver knife, so you can stab me with it if I ask you to.
Kind of like with Shu, the anime pulls this like bait and switch thing with Subaru where he seems nice because he offers to help Yui escape, but he also ends up being like threatening and taking advantage of her, just like all the rest of his brothers.
If you take one step closer, I will destroy you! I will not only break your body, but I'll break your mind as well!
Kanato is by far my least favorite one of all the brothers, mostly because he looks and acts way younger than he actually is.
There is only one thing worse than a rapist. Boom. A child. No.
Although he's 17 years old, he looks like the ghost of a dead Victorian child.
Why are we in a cemetery?
I love graves so much.
He's got a lot of these childhood mannerisms, like talking to his teddy bear and eating sweets.
Tell me the truth, Teddy. What do you think of Yui for being so insensitive to our needs?
I'm very sorry. Do you think you can forgive me, Teddy?
Would you kindly refrain from addressing my Teddy as if you know him?
He also does this weird thing where he constantly contradicts himself. He'll act really polite in one moment and then aggressive in the next. I constantly felt like I was getting whiplash in every scene he appeared in.
Oh, hello, Yui. It's a nice night, isn't it?
Isn't it a little dangerous to be sitting up there? I wouldn't want you to fall.
You really don't have a clue how that makes you sound, do you? It makes you sound arrogant and self-righteous.
I think the angle they were going for with Kanato was that his mother neglected him as a child, so he spent all his time hanging out with dolls, and that would explain why he's emotionally immature and why he dresses and talks like he's way younger than he actually is. And he also keeps asking Yui if he can murder her and turn her dead body into a doll.
Say, would you like to become one of these figures? Right here and now? I think that you would look very beautiful if you were a silent corpse too.
Super weird. Not attractive.
The fourth most popular brother was Laito.
Laito's lines of dialogue are both written and delivered with the exact same, jilted, megalomaniac way that James Bond villains deliver their lines.
There is no God. There's no real need to follow the rules. After all, the two of us are more alike than we are different. I sure hope you have a nice time burning in hell.
Every time Laito shows up on the screen, he's so over the top and ridiculous that it circles right back around to being hilarious. I mean, he's dressed like he's on the set of High School Musical. Also, there's the nickname thing. Laito gives Yui this affectionate nickname immediately after meeting her.
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, little bitch.
Yeah, so I thought this was going to be a one-time deal, but Laito doesn't call her this occasionally. He says this so frequently that I got to wondering just how many times they were going to sneak that phrase into the show. In fact, I got so curious that I thought I might as well keep track of it myself.
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, little bitch. Oh, there, little bitch. Little bitch. Where has that little bitch run off to? Why don't you tell us how you managed to get in here, little bitch? Little bitch. Little bitch. It doesn't look like you've eaten very much, little bitch. But this conversation isn't over, little bitch. And the prize for the winner of the game will be little bitch, of course. It means that you'll belong to him, little bitch. Okay, here's your prize of one, little bitch. If it isn't little bitch, I know everything there is to know about you, little bitch. Foolish little bitch. Top of the morning. What's up, little bitch? Are you stupid, little bitch, or are you just naive? I suspect you might be both. I wouldn't be surprised. Whatever the case, you're clearly simple-minded. But I find your innocence appealing, little bitch. You, little bitch, were offered up to us as a sacrifice. How I adore that look of despair on your face, little bitch. You, little bitch. Hey, little bitch. Right, little bitch? I must admit that I'm touched, little bitch. I love you, little bitch. Well, hello there, little bitch. Hi there, little bitch. Come on, little bitch, let's fly to the moon, shall we?
You just know his voice actor was having the time of his life when he recorded this.
Coming in fifth on the popularity poll was Ayato.
Ayato comes on the strongest of the bunch, and he's also the first brother to bite Yui. He clearly sees Yui as being beneath him, and he treats her more like a toy than a real person. He cares about her only to the extent that her blood tastes pretty good and she's fun to mess with.
Your life is completely at the mercy of yours truly. I can do whatever I want with you, so stop quibbling over every little thing!
Ayato is the youngest of three triplets, but Cordelia intended to make him the successor of the family.
I must become number one. I must be the best. Better than my brothers. Better than anyone.
Because he bore the brunt of all of her expectations, he kind of developed this superiority complex and became a major narcissist.
Now tell me I'm the best of all my brothers. Then tell me that I'm better than anyone else. And that you belong to me exclusively.
I had to! I can't swim!
However, his mother's attention wasn't all positive, and so because of her threats and her punishments, Ayato was taught to both hate her and also fear failure more than anything else.
And what if you fail to do so?
Then I am not worthy of being my mother's child, and I deserve only to be sunk to the bottom of the lake.
Although the anime doesn't fully commit to making Yui and Ayato an official couple, it does sort of position them as the main love interest. Ayato gets the most screen time with Yui out of all the brothers, at least. One way that the anime tries to show us that Ayato is developing real feelings for Yui as a person rather than just a blood bag is they have him start to terrorize Yui and give up halfway through.
Damn, I'm bored with this. Forget it.
This really doesn't do anything to make him more likable as a character. It just kind of makes him look like an asshole in a different way. Coming in at the bottom of our list is Reiji Sakamaki. I immediately clocked Reiji as a Megane or glasses type character. In otome games, guys with glasses tend to be intelligent, sophisticated, pretentious, and cold. This is totally what they were going for with Reiji. He spends an absurd amount of his screen time standing in front of a chemistry set, and also he sounds like he's vomiting up a thesaurus whenever he opens his mouth.
Seriously, how obtuse can you be? Your table manners are deplorable, are you not aware of that? Please refrain from invoking my father's name with no good reason. I find it patently offensive.
Reiji's tragic backstory is that he was born a second son, so his mother devoted all of her time and attention to Shu, his older brother, instead of him.
Mother, look! I finished memorizing this entire book.
Reiji acts the most responsible out of all of the brothers, kind of scolding the other siblings and taking control of household affairs. So he kind of comes off as this strict perfectionist who's using his responsibility as a facade to cover for how inferior he felt when his mother ignored him as a child.
That's right, your mother, Beatrix. Just like her, you suppress your emotions and hide your true feelings behind a stony exterior. Beatrix never seemed to love you nearly as much as she loved Shu, her eldest.
Reiji has very few interactions with Yui, like this one where he roofies her for no reason.
Here, be my guest.
But most of his voice lines are the most wildly inappropriate out of everyone in the cast.
One of these days, I'll have to take you aside and discipline you thoroughly. There's simply no way around it. Prepare for some strict training and hold on tight, little girl.
Let's face it, Yui is not an inspiring heroine. Out of all the characters in the show, she gets the most hate for her role as the perpetual damsel in distress. Yui suffers from many of the same fatal flaws that other reverse harem or otome game protagonists do. She's always a victim, she makes some abysmally boneheaded decisions like refusing to escape when she gets the opportunity or stabbing herself instead of any of her kidnappers.
Only a foolish girl would stab herself.
She also just has the personality of wet cardboard. But all that being said, I think that Yui actually deserves a little bit of credit. She does try to advocate for herself. She makes multiple escape attempts, and she doesn't allow the Sakamaki brothers to intimidate her. For instance, although they tell her multiple times that her faith in God is stupid and naive, Yui confidently says that she believes in her religion and will never let them sway her opinion on the subject.
I will still believe. It makes no difference how difficult life becomes for me. I will not abandon my belief. And even though they say that the flesh is weak, I won't be tempted, and I will still believe.
I do admire that she chooses to stick to her guns about the things that matter to her the most. I also think that Yui kind of deserves a pass for some of her poor decision making. By the time that she even gets a good opportunity to escape, she's had so much of her blood drained that it's frankly a wonder there is any oxygen flowing to her brain at all. Anyone placed in a situation like hers that's so mentally and physically stressful would also have impaired judgment. She's intended to be a blank slate for viewers to project themselves onto. This is the case for 99% of heroines in dating sim games. Although we get very little to no insight about her personality, interests, or what she actually likes or wants, Yui obviously cares a lot about her father and wants to protect him even at her own expense, which I find to be pretty admirable. She might not be the brightest main character of all time, but I for one think we should cut her a little slack, especially because of all the... Other than the gaping plot holes, general lack of character development, and staggering degree of misogyny, the biggest issue with Diabolik Lovers is the fact that the show frames the vampires attacking Yui to drink her blood as some kind of twisted fan service. Although it contains no nudity or explicit sex, Diabolik Lovers does have an R17 mature rating because the many scenes where vampires drink Yui's blood without her consent come off as overtly sexual. And this was clearly an intentional decision.
You know how to get my juices flowing, don't you? That really turns me on. Your tears and that look of pain on your face really do it for me.
I am disgusted.
This sort of harassment is relatively common in reverse harem anime. It's not in every show in the genre, but it does pop up in most of them. Even classics like Ouran High School Host Club have scenes with some pretty uncomfortable implications.
Why'd you turn the lights off?
If you want to, you can pay me back with your body.
And this is also true of a lot of Western romance movies and novels too. Whether it's in movies, books, or anime, there are plenty of famous romance stories which feature domineering, controlling male love interests. In most of these stories, the male lead has some redeeming qualities. He develops a soft spot for the female lead. He puts himself in danger to protect her, and he showers her with love and luxury. But the Diabolik Lovers anime makes the extremely bold choice to make every single one of its male leads an irredeemable asshole who treats Yui like garbage from beginning to end.
Do you dare defy yours truly, or will you finally learn to submit? Huh, Pancake?
Ayato, what is it?
Be quiet and stay right there. Every part of you belongs to me now. Say that you're mine completely.
They're way too cruel and vindictive and mean to be romantic. They protect Yui for the sole purpose of dining on her gourmet blood, not because they actually care about her. They never express genuine affection towards her, and they certainly don't shower her with compliments or gifts. The show doesn't even make the slightest attempt to redeem any of the male cast. But here's the thing. The anime can't redeem one of the vampires because it's got commitment issues by design. As a TV show, the Diabolik Lovers anime completely fails to achieve its most basic fundamental objective. It doesn't tell a complete story. It's a romance story that doesn't commit to a romance. But, like most anime adapted from video games, Diabolik Lovers is, first and foremost, an advertisement. The anime was created with a niche audience in mind: female fans of dating sims. The show's goal was to make girls want to buy the video game so they could choose which vampire boyfriend Yui is supposed to end up with. So, even though your average viewer might find the show painfully cringy, how was it received by its intended audience? Well, among fans of the Diabolik Lovers game franchise, although it's agreed that the anime does a poor job of providing a cohesive narrative because it tries to juggle 6 different love interests at the same time, the anime did do a good job of making fans curious enough to want to buy and play the games, which have been very commercially successful. The Diabolik Lovers franchise has 7 games, 2 remasters, 2 seasons of anime, 3 stage play adaptations, plus sales from manga, drama CDs, and merchandise. Remember, there's no official English release of Diabolik Lovers' Haunted Dark Bridal, which this anime is directly based on. And yet, Western fans have painstakingly created an English text patch which runs for the PS Vita version of the game. They've also posted online versions of translated text from the game which you can read along with while you play the Japanese version. People would not have gone to all that trouble if they were interested, and I'm guessing the anime played a pretty big role in sparking that interest for English-speaking fans. If I take a step back and look at Diabolik Lovers from an emotionless, purely critical standpoint, I can come to two distinct conclusions. First, it's just not a good story. It doesn't tell a cohesive narrative or even bother trying to commit to developing a romance. It's full of plot holes and unanswered questions, and you have to watch it with the sound turned all the way down or else your roommate might walk in and hear this.
You're getting excited, aren't you? What a dirty girl you are.
Second, Diabolik Lovers is undeniably a good advertisement for its target audience. If this anime was getting fans to buy copies of the game in a language they don't even read or speak, you have to admit they did something right. So at the end of the day, is Diabolik Lovers a bad show? Well, that depends on what metric you judge it by. As a standalone romance? Yeah, it sucks. As an ad for a spicy video game targeted towards thirsty teenage girls? I have to say it kinda delivered. Now, I'm not here to judge anybody's taste, and I'm certainly not here to kink shame, but I'm pretty confident in my judgment that Diabolik Lovers doesn't deserve redemption. It doesn't deserve a rewatch. Frankly, this show has traumatized me irreparably, and I am a worse person for having watched it. I can only hope my therapist can undo the damage I have done to myself in making this video. But there's still hope. If you're still looking for the perfect anime about a sexy, sadistic vampire, well, look no further. I've got you covered.
In all things that I do, I am number one. It's useless to try and defeat me. I shall be master, now and always.